Okay, welcome everybody to our continuing series of Ask the Building Expert, provided and hosted by myself, Lance Luke, National Building Expert, and Martin Pea. Martin is a back-end guy. We've been very successful at giving these webinars, and thanks to Martin, he actually serves the coffee and pastries and all that kind of thing. Sometimes when he's bored, he ends up taking a nap, and then at the end, when it's Q&A time, I kind of got to wake him up. But anyway, he's a good guy. And today is a national day. It's National Sausage Pizza Day. And I like Italian sausage in my pizza. And then the other day is Face Your Fear Day. So if you have any kind of phobias or whatever, today's the day to face your fear. And I'm facing my fear now, talking live on Zoom and Facebook. Actually, I got over my fear long ago when I was on stage and making a fool of myself. Once you do that, then you kind of get used to, you don't worry about it anymore. But anyway, appreciate everybody tuning in and attending. And let's see what else we have. Yes. Okay. So we're going to be talking about construction inspections, and it won't be a long webinar, but I'll just give you enough information to take home with you. And so what I do as a construction engineer, construction manager, I'm always inspecting and managing construction projects. So if you see the photo, I'm on a rig on a 40-story building, and that's the only way to inspect concrete repair, painting, and waterproofing, because you can't see this stuff from the ground. And then the other photo is I'm on a roof of a church, and it's like about maybe close to almost 40 feet high. So it's pretty high up. So I'm inspecting a roofing job, re-roofing. So I have fun. The reason why I'm not retired is I'm having too much fun working and checking out buildings and different things like that, working with the contractor. It's fun. So this webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection, construction management company. I operate mainly in Hawaii, although we do have clients mainly on the West Coast. So if you're on the neighbor island, we'll be able to help you as well. So here we go, construction inspections. What is a construction inspection and how important are they? And as you know, if you're located in Hawaii, and thank you for those attending that are not from Hawaii, they're from different other states and maybe some foreign countries. And it doesn't matter, because the idea of construction inspection applies to anywhere in the world. In the United States and anywhere in the world, it's basically the same. The building codes may be different, but the format for the inspections are basically the same. The definition is the same. Like, how important is construction inspections? Well, it's very important, and I'll let you know how in a little while. So let's talk about the definition of construction inspection. Basically, it's a review or examination of the progress of construction. So at any stage of your construction, there's an inspection done, or hopefully there is, and that's the component, the building component that's under inspection. Now, it could be where, let's say you have a vacant lot and you have to, the contractor had to do demolition because there was an old house there or something, or old building. So the demolition, and now it's excavation and grading. Because if you're not building a house, let's say you're building a high-rise building, such as the high-rises in Kaka'ako, you know, those buildings are 40 stories high, 400 feet. So in order to construct the building, they have to excavate a lot of dirt to get down into the ground so they can actually lay a solid foundation so the building doesn't fall down. So the excavation, the grading of dirt, and the laying of foundation and all that, that's part of the construction inspection. And as the building is being built, different components are inspected at different time periods. So we'll be talking more about that as we go through. Now, there's two types of construction inspections, or I'll tell you the reason why the difference. Now, there's what's called observation of construction versus supervision of construction. And many years ago, the architects and engineers were required to inspect, and there was really no word titled inspection. It was, the inspection was either a supervision or observation of the work. Okay? And in the early years, the architects and engineers were required by law, and every state followed the same protocol. And on the building plans that the engineers and architects drew, they had to actually stamp the plans, and there was a attestment. And the wording on the attestment says, this work was completed by me, and the construction work will be under my supervision. Okay, and that was there for years. And then later on, there was a lot of lawsuits and conflict, and people questioned the definition of the word supervision. And the legal definition is it's all encompassing. If you're a supervisor, then you're responsible for the workers under you, or if you're supervising construction, you're responsible for basically everything that goes on, you know, during the course of the day. If the work day is 8 hours, if you're the supervisor, you're the one responsible to be the supervisor for 8 hours. And that was too broad, and it put too much responsibility and liability on these design professionals, architects and engineers. That's why there was a lobby at a certain point in time to change the word supervision to observation. Now, observation is less of a requirement and liability as compared to supervision. So observation is like, well, I'm not there to supervise, I'm just there to observe. So I'm not at the, like if I'm the engineer, I'm not there 8 hours a day supervising the workers. I'm there an hour a day, or 2 hours every other day, or whatever, to observe what's going on. So the connotation is that if I'm observing, I'm not supervising. So I'm only there, you know, periodic inspections. So I'm not held accountable for defects that happen when I wasn't there, kind of thing. So, I mean, there's like a lot of big litigation over these two words and the protocol and all that. But I'm just letting you know what the difference is. So what we have today is basically all your design consultants, including the construction manager, construction engineer, we're only construction observers. We're not supervisors. Who is the supervisors? The supervisors are your general contractor. Okay, he's the supervisor of the project. And then you have subcontractors who have their own supervisors, but the general is responsible for all the workers below him. And I'm talking about subcontractors. Okay, so it gets kind of technical, but in general, that's what we're talking about: supervisors, supervision versus observation. Now, you may ask, well, what is the difference between a building inspection and a construction inspection? Isn't like the same thing? And basically it is, and there's overlap because a construction inspector, like what I do, I'm also inspecting as a building inspector and vice versa. So there is some overlap. There's no clean cut division. And so the difference is the building inspection, and we're talking about, construction inspections, uh, new construction or renovations and all that. I'm not talking about a building inspection when the building's already there and you're hiring somebody to inspect the building because you want to buy it or you just want to know what problems there were and all that. So the difference is the building inspector would work for your local municipality. And in Hawaii, the office is the building department, which is called DPP, Department of Planning and Permitting. And the construction inspection is done by third-party people or workers who are affiliated with the project in various ways, such as your general contractor, your project architect or engineer, or a hired construction manager, project manager, and so forth. So a building inspection is basically compliance with the applicable building codes, and that's DPP. That's your local building inspector or your code inspector. And if you're on the mainland, it's the same thing. It's your local municipality inspector. And then your construction inspector, it basically is the one inspecting for compliance with the plans and specifications. Now, there's overlap because your DPP inspector would have a copy of the plan. So he would be looking at the plans and specs, but only for conformance with the code or not. Okay, so in other words, if the contractor installed a door and it's to code, okay, but it was installed poorly, the DPP inspector would pass it, but the construction inspector may not pass it and say, hey, this doesn't work. I can't even close it. So, you guys got to fix it. Okay, so basically that's the difference. So let's talk about the types of construction inspectors. And you might say, well, I thought there was only, one type, but there's different types of people that could be doing the inspection. The developer, the owner of the property could come to the job site, the construction site, and he could be doing his own inspection. He might hire a project manager, a construction manager, or an owner's rep to do the inspection for him. And that's a developer or investor. And then you have the general contractor. The general contractor would, and hopefully, conduct his own inspections, inspect the trades, inspect all the work done by subcontractors. And usually, that would be the construction superintendent or a project engineer or project manager that's hired by the general contractor. Now, when I use the term project manager or construction manager, that person, he or she, could be hired by the general contractor, and that same person in a different capacity would be hired by the developer. So the developer could have their own construction manager and the general contractor could have their own. Okay, so there may be times where I'm at a job site of a big project and you may have 4 project managers there representing different entities. Then you have the subcontractor. The subcontractor could be their own inspector, which is good. And hopefully the general contractor and subcontractor inspects their own work. And the problem with construction defects is a lot of times these workers are not inspecting their own work or other people's work. And then it gets covered up and then it becomes a problem. Then you have the project architect. The project architect is also an inspector, and hopefully he goes to the job site. He's on call when there's problems, and he should be inspecting at least once a month, okay, to see what's going on at different stages of construction. Then you have the various engineers. And on a big project such as the high-rise buildings in Kaka'ako, you have many engineers. It's not only one engineer. You have a geotechnical engineer, which is a soils engineer. You have a structural engineer. You have a civil engineer. You have a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer. I mean, there's a whole bunch. I'm not surprised if on one project you have 10 or more engineers and all doing different things, and they have a different scope of work, but normally they're all contracted under the project architect. And then you have a construction manager. And this same format applies to not only brand new buildings, but buildings that are already built that are going under renovation work. So in that case, you don't have a developer, you have an owner, you have a condo association, okay? Or if it's an office building that's owned by like an investment company, well, that's the owner. Okay? And then you have a general contractor, subcontractor, architect, you know, one or more engineers, and you have a construction manager. So the basic premise is the same. Now, on a small project, you might just have one general contractor that does everything and one architect, or instead of an architect, an engineer. Okay. And the smaller jobs may not even have a construction manager. Okay. But it's wise to have one because the construction manager is the one in charge of the overall project and meets with the contractor and all that. On bigger jobs, the general contractor would sub out work to a subcontractor. So let's say you have a plumbing job where you're replacing cast iron drain piping. In some cases, the general contractor is responsible for cutting open walls and doing drywall repair, carpentry and all that. And the subcontractor is the actual plumbing contractor who's replacing the piping. Okay, so that's kind of like the format. Let's talk about the types of construction inspections. Okay, so there's different types of inspections. There's a progress of construction inspection, which is commonly known as a contractor draw. A contractor draw is if you have a big project that's taking 18 months or 24 months to complete. Every month, the contractor submits his invoice, which is called a construction draw or application of payment. And they're billing every month by progress billings, by percentage of construction. And that's when you have a construction inspector take that document, and let's say the contractor's billing 200,000, and there's all these line items. There's concrete work, some electrical, some plumbing, reinforcing steel, scaffolding, and all that. So there's all these line items, and the construction inspector would go through the list and review every line item that's being billed, and hopefully at the end of that exercise, approve it. I was working on a job in Chinatown called Kukui Tower, and it was a $20 million project, whatever. Anyway, every month, I was the inspector that had to inspect the contractor draw, and every month, the billing was over $1 million. So it was like 40 pages long. And I had to review that, plus go to the job site and look at the drywall work. They're billing for 20% completion. I got to verify whether, in fact, there was 20% of the work completed. Plumbing work, painting, carpentry. They're renovating units as well. So flooring, cabinets, countertops. What else did they have? Well, plumbing, of course, electrical work and that kind of thing. So that's the progress of construction type. Then we have the quality control, which is inspector not only verifying the amount of work completed, but verifying the quality of construction, whether it was up to par or whether it was sloppy or defective case. And that's a very important type of inspection. Sometimes the quality control inspection is combined with the progress billing inspection. And then you have your lender investor type of inspection, which is basically kind of like the same as a progress contracted draw. Because on that Kukui Tower job, I was hired by a company on the mainland that represented a construction loan lender. And so they hired me to verify completion in order for them to pay the contractor. So every month they're approving payment of over $1 million because of me signing off saying, yes, the contractor did the work according to the schedule of values and percentages. And yes, they're entitled for you to pay them $1.2 million or whatever it was. Okay, so that's the lender investor type. And then you have your governmental inspection. So DPP is legally known as AHJ, which means the authority having jurisdiction. And I don't know who made that up, but it sounds like a big shot. Oh, I'm the authority having jurisdiction. I'm your building inspector. Basically, it's a building inspector, okay? And that's your local city and county inspector. And then you have the HUD, Housing Urban Development, FHA, VA, and those are federal inspections, okay? Then in addition, you would have your state elevator inspection, state fire inspection, and so forth. So sometimes I'm wearing different hats. On other jobs, I'm the federal inspector and I'm hired by a company as the HUD certified construction inspector. So I'm the federal inspector when I go to the job. Sometimes initially when I go to the job, everybody runs away from me because they're scared. And we're also inspecting for OSHA safety violations too. So maybe that's why they're scared. And then there's another type of construction inspection is a building material manufacturer's inspection. And the building material manufacturer would come out and make sure that the work that was performed meets the manufacturer's building material installation guidelines. And what does that mean? Okay, so let's talk about waterproofing. You're waterproofing a parking deck of a large shopping center. So not only would you have people like me going out to do the inspection and the contractor, you would call that building material rep to come out and do his inspection because he's the guy that has to certify in order to provide the warranty, okay? So the warranty is critical. I can inspect as many times I want, but I'm not the one to give the warranty, right? So that's why you need the building material manufacturer to sign off, inspect and sign off and give a report that everything was done correctly, or he notices some defects and the contractor has to fix it. Otherwise, you're not going to get the warranty. So this applies to, could apply to painting, waterproofing, roofing, and different other types of building components. Building component categories. So I'll talk about building components. So you have ground, foundation, walls, roof, and you know, this is an image of a house, but you know, you could substitute it for a high-rise building or shopping center, office building, apartment building. It's all the same. You're going to build on the ground. You have a foundation, you have a wall and a roof. So if any of you guys attending have any building or see any building that does not have a foundation, a wall, or a roof, let me know. I'd like to inspect it and I'll even do a webinar on it. And then you have electrical, plumbing, mechanical systems. Electrical, you know what that is. Plumbing, you know what that is. Hot and cold water and your drain piping and all that. And you might say, well, what's mechanical? Well, mechanical is your HVAC system, which is your air conditioning. It includes your water heating. It includes fire sprinklers, fire alarm system, which is covered under electrical also, things like that. And then you have paint, waterproofing, windows and doors and other things like that. So I know I briefly really gave a fast rundown on things, but basically in a nutshell, that's what it is. A construction inspection is just that, somebody coming to inspect. And conclusion from the building expert. And here's a picture of me hanging off a 40-story building. I'm on a swing stage, which is a moving scaffold. And anybody that goes on that has to have their fall protection, OSHA certification and all that, because, you know, we want to be safe. But I'm pretty high up, and I don't know why I'm smiling. I think I'm smiling because I'm done with my work and I can go back down to the ground or something like that. But my conclusion is, no matter what your project is, whether it's big or small, whether it's $20,000 or $20 million, it's good to have a construction inspector on the job and inspecting for you, because there's too many war stories of incomplete inspections that result in construction defects. Yeah, so sometimes when I'm hired as an expert witness on construction defect litigation, it's forensic engineering. I have to basically kind of take things apart in order to investigate. So to save things from being taken apart, it's better to do it right in the first place rather than having somebody like me come after and start taking things apart and saying, well, no wonder this failed because you didn't install this correctly. You didn't have the right number of nails to install the siding, or you installed roofing shingles and the length of your nail was too short, because it really gets technical when you get into forensic engineering and all that. So that's my word to you. It doesn't matter if it's big or small. If it's a small job, it's good to have a third party, and that's a different set of eyes than, you know, just taking the word of the contractor saying, "Oh, we're done. You know, give us a final check and we'll be on our way." Well, how do you know whether it was done properly? Okay, I'm not saying you can't trust a contractor. I'm saying you might want to have additional support, have another set of eyes on things. Okay, before I get to the Q&A, just want to let you know that what's coming up for the future on our webinars. We have a couple other webinars this year to close out the year. And the next one is problems in the construction industry. I'll be talking about cost of building materials, supply chain, you know, hard to get good workers now and that kind of thing. And then the next webinar is defective building materials. And then Martin and I are expressing our appreciation to those of you who attended one or more webinars throughout the year. So we're having a holiday party. Save the date. It's December 20th. I think it's a Tuesday. So December 20th. Last year we had a similar party. That was the first one. And we gave away about $1,000 in gift cards. We have games, prizes, and it's a lot of fun. It's not, you don't have to do much. You might have to sing jingle bells or whatever, but it's fun. So if you want to register, and the seating is limited to 50 people, so go to our website and register now, because if you wait too long, you might not be able to get in. And like, what's the website? It's askbuildingexpert.now.site. And we have a bunch of webinar titles already set for next year. So you guys want to hear what they are? Oh, okay. So for 2023, I'm going to give you a, since we have some time, I'm going to give you a rundown, fast rundown of 20. So 2023, we have 23 webinars. Why do we have 23 rather than 24? Is because we're only giving one webinar in December because we're going to have another holiday party. I'm sure you don't mind. So here's the list, starting from January. Major skyscrapers in the world. How long does it last? And I'm going to be talking about how long do components last in a building. Your roof, your painting, your concrete, electrical, plumbing, all that good stuff, air conditioning. I'm going to give you the facts. See, so for you condo owners and condo board owners and property managers, you're going to be surprised at the number because things aren't going to last as long as you think, or even maybe what's shown in the reserve study. Okay, the other thing is fire code inspections. The next webinar is ancient buildings in Italy. Well, why am I doing that? Well, I'm doing that because I'm on a reconnaissance. I'm going to Italy. I'm going to visit different buildings in Venice and Rome, and I'm going to do my write-up and take photos, and I'm going to share with you in a webinar in February what my findings were, you know, the Colosseum and all that kind of stuff. So that's the reason I'm doing that. Next webinar, why is my electric bill so high? I'm going to give you the down and dirty, explain to you how to read your electric bill. And then here's another one by demand. DPP, why is my building permit taking so long? That's the title of the webinar. That should be interesting. Next, emergency generators. Next, here's a good one. Climate change and global warming. Is it real or is it fake news? You're going to hear it from me. Next is condo board errors. If you're on a condo board or you live in a condo and you have a board, I'm going to be talking about the errors that condo boards make or condo board members make. I'm going to give you the real facts, and you may be surprised at what's going on today. Next webinar, condo lawsuits. There's trouble in paradise. So I'm going to share with you actual lawsuits involving condominiums where unit owners have sued the board and the property management company. And these are some of the lawsuits I'm actually working on as an expert witness. So I won't mention the names of the condo buildings, but I'll just tell you in general what the basis for the lawsuit was. And then 7 stages of construction. That should be interesting. Next, 24 types of building structure components. That's another good one. And then, oh, here's another one by demand. Aloha Stadium from rust to dust. By then, hopefully the state decides what to do, and this is going to be in July, and I'll give you the rundown on that. I'll give you the history of what happened from the beginning. And then next, the real estate development process. A lot of people don't know what the whole process in what the real estate developer has to do, but I'll be sharing that with you. Next is water damage, flood, remediation. If you have a flood in your house or in a condo, I'll be explaining to you what the protocol is, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. And, you know, to this day, there's people that doing things wrong, resulting in mold and lawsuits and all that. I want to share that. And then here's another good one. I like this one. Construction defect litigation cases. I'll be talking to you about those. Some cases I worked on, some other people worked on. And then next is renovation is no vacation. And we're talking about either your house renovation, your condo renovation, or if you're a condo board member, property manager, and you're in charge of a condo building, I'll be talking about renovation on your entire condo building. Next is real estate seller disclosure. Now this one is kind of deviation from my building and construction topics, but I've gotten a lot of realtors and homeowners and sellers asking me about the real estate seller disclosure, I'm going to give you the rundown on what an as-is addendum is, and how to fill out a disclosure statement, and how to fill it out where you get sued later and stuff because you're not telling the truth and all that. Then next is the International Residential Code, cliff dwelling construction. I'm going around the world looking at people who build communities or cities that build their structures on or in a cliff. And that's going to be fun. And then, oh man, here's a topic that people wanted me to talk about like 2 years ago, a year ago, even today. The rail, the big, bad, and ugly. And I'll be talking about that. That should be interesting. Geez, it may not be an hour webinar, it may be a 4-hour webinar. And then here's another hot topic, Red Hill, the big Navy blunder. So I'll be doing a webinar on that. And then another webinar is why hire a construction manager. And that's not really to promote my company. It's just to let people know why you should hire an expert. So I breezed through that fairly fast, but it'll be on our website soon. And then after that, we'll be setting up the Zoom registration. You know, it's early, it's still October, so we still have time and you still have time. Now, if you want to reach out to me, if you don't have get your questions answered, my phone number is 808-422-2132. Email is lanceluke@hawaiibuildingexpert.com. And also, before I forget, I want to give you guys a free book, for our appreciation for your attendance. And you can choose between how safe is your building or monster houses. Okay, so we have it almost done. It's on actually the first version, which is kind of like a draft. It's on our website now. You go to askbuildingexpert.now.site publications, and you can read it there, or you can download it, however you want. Now, it's not completed. It should be completed soon. So that's not the final version. And so you can choose one of them. Oh, wait a minute. I just got a text from Martin that says, you know what? We're in a giving mode. So, okay, it's 2 for 1. So you can select both if you want for the price of one, which is free. Okay, so man, I'm Chinese. I hate to give free stuff away. But anyway, it's all trying to, promote and educate. And that's the reason why we do this. So in accordance with our normal procedure of educating, I'd like to open it up now for questions. So you got questions, I got answers. If I'm not able to answer your question, I'm not going to give you money. I'll promise to research it and get back to you. That's what I could do. So Martin, are you around?
Yes, Lance, I'm here. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, so okay. We got any interested people asking questions?
Yes,
or what?
We have several interesting questions that have come in. So let me give you the first one here. This is, as a condo property manager, how do I know when construction inspections are required for a capital improvement construction project? That's your first.
Okay, let me stop the share screen. Okay, so if you're getting, if it's a big project and you're getting a bank loan, a construction loan, the lender requires you to hire a construction inspector. So that's going to be already a given. But let's say you don't have a bank loan. You would be able to hire, and hopefully you do hire your own construction manager, and that person can do the inspections. Or if you have a project architect engineer, you ask that person to do the inspections, but they're not required to do as many inspections like a construction inspector, construction manager would. So that's the difference. Yeah. So how can you be assured? Well, you really want to get somebody on board from the beginning, and they're with you throughout the whole project until the end. So that's pretty important. Can you imagine if you don't have somebody that's the gatekeeper, somebody that's the owner's rep, and then you just finish a project? How do you know whether things are done correctly or not? You really don't, and you don't want to have that big question mark or that liability hanging over your head. Yeah, especially if you're a property manager or board member. Okay? You want to do things the right way, and that's the right way to do things.
Very good, Lance. Thank you.
Sure.
Your next question here is, are these inspections only for brand new buildings like the high-rise buildings in Kaka'ako? Or do they also apply to repair and renovation projects in existing buildings?
Okay, that's a good one. So the construction inspections are applicable to both new buildings and older buildings who are undergoing renovation work or capital improvement projects and that kind of thing. So for instance, I have projects that I'm inspecting, and it's not brand new buildings. It's existing buildings. They're condo buildings or apartment buildings, and I'm inspecting concrete spalling work, painting, waterproofing, roofing, cast iron drain piping, electrical, asphalt. So any one of these building components, you should have hired a construction inspector. So even if you're one homeowner doing renovation on your house, like an addition or repairing something, and you're spending over $50,000, I would say hire somebody to inspect the work before you pay your contractor. That's money well spent, because if you don't and there's problems later, how do you know? It's hard when the wall's closed up. Now you got to open the wall up, and that costs big money just to prove that the contractor didn't do something correctly. Yeah, so it's better to pay a little bit more to have inspections done up front than to pay a lot more later and have the aggravation of dealing with problems. Yeah, once the job's completed.
Very good, Lance. Thank you. And that's why I have you helping me with my projects too. So I appreciate you being my expert.
Yeah. Okay.
So our next question is, our buildings are going to be doing some wood repair and painting in Hawaii Kai. Do we need any of these inspections you talked about?
Okay. A few questions, like how much are you spending? Are you spending $50,000? Are you spending 1 million? So, or anywhere in between? If you are, I think you best hire a construction manager to do your inspections for you, because once they start removing like your siding, your belly band, trim, and all this other stuff, and you need somebody to inspect the work, like when they're putting on new siding, new trim. But what happens when they remove siding and now your interior studs are 2x4 vertical studs or sill plate? What if it's all termite eaten or rotted? Okay, so that inspector would have to make the call on, does it need to be replaced? Can it be patched? Can it be repaired? How much replacement is needed? Somebody has to be on site to make the call. Although the contractor would, hopefully pretty much know what he's supposed to do. If he didn't initially bid on that, and I'm sure he did not, because when he gave his bid, it's only on what he can see. So that becomes a change order. So you need somebody to help verify and approve all these change orders for additional costs. So that's the reason why you need somebody, and don't depend on the contractor to, be the one inspecting his own work. That's like putting a fox in the hen house kind of thing. And I'm not saying the contractor won't do a good job. You just want a third party person, independent. So it's like when the contractor submits his bill to get paid, and let's say it's 100,000, and you have somebody approving it, the contractor can't approve his own billing. That doesn't make any sense, right? So, yeah, good questions.
Yes, it is. And experience on of my own can attest to everything you said. So thank you on that. Our next question here is, our building in Waikiki will be starting a spalling and painting project soon. How do we know if the contractor will be getting the required inspections? Is the contractor allowed to do their own inspections?
Well, the contractor is allowed to do their own inspections, right? And they should do their own inspections, but the contractor's inspection does not suffice. It does not meet the requirement as an owner's inspection. So you would have the owner's rep, like the construction manager hired by the owner, hired by the condo association, to do the inspections. That's how you can be assured that inspections are going to be done. Now, if you do it the right way, you tell the contractor up front, look, we hired a construction manager who's going to do the inspection. So be sure you're going to allot time in your schedule. So when you're finished on one drop, let's say, and a drop is from the top of the high-rise building, it's a stack, top all the way down. That's one stack, one drop. When they're finished, the contractors to call the inspector up, and the inspector will go up on the rig and do the inspection and sign off, right? That's the only way to do it properly. You can't be spending $400, $600, $1 million or more and not have someone inspect it. And I'm talking about a third-party inspection. Now, if you hired a project architect or engineer, that person will do inspections too, but they're not the construction manager. They're not there every day or every week to do the inspections, and they're not riding the rig constantly to do their inspections. So there's a big difference, right? And if you hire, let's say you hired a painting spec writer, Sherwin-Williams, or other Pratt and Lambert or other brands, they're not, and listen, no matter what they say, they're not the inspector. They're not going to inspect the paint performance on the 40th floor, okay? They're not even inspectors. They're just like come and look kind of thing. So they don't even call it an inspection. They just call it, a warranty review or something like that. So don't get confused like, oh, well, we have a spec writer. The guy who we're buying the paint from is going to come do the inspections. No, you need a construction manager, because those paint people aren't going to ride the rig, and they're not going to sign off on your invoices that the contractor submits. So there's a big difference. Yeah. We got any other interesting questions?
Yes, Lance, we have one more here. Is it your opinion that construction defects are due to incomplete or no construction inspections? And what other contributing factors result in construction defects? I am a construction attorney.
Okay, so construction attorney, thank you for attending. You sound like you're the same attorney that attended my last webinar on special inspections, but thank you. In any case, the answer to your question is there's different types of causes of a construction defect. There's three main types, basically. It's the defects are due to either a design problem, design error. It's due to maybe a defective building material or something like that. Or, and commonly, the number one cause of a construction defect is workmanship issues. So those are the three types of causes of construction defects. It may be only one of them, it may be two of them, or it may be a combination of three. But more than likely, and all the construction defect cases I worked on as an expert, it pinpoints to workmanship issues, okay? bad workmanship, poor workmanship as the cause of the defect, not necessarily failed building material or an error in the design by the architect or engineers. Although that happens too, but it's rare. Sometimes we combine both the design problem and the workmanship problem. And then sometimes we combine all three and we just throw it out there and say the defect is caused by this. It's caused by poor design, poor workmanship, and bad building material. And let those guys figure out. They have to defend. They have to come back and defend themselves and prove that no, the workmanship was spot on, the design was 100% correct, and the building material had no defects. So it just becomes crazy after a while, especially when you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars. Like there was one lawsuit, it was about 135 million. I mean, that's not cheap. And that was the amount that the settlement amount. So anyway, it goes on. I appreciate the questions, even from an attorney. So we got any other last minute questions that came in before we sign off?
No, you're good, Lance. You've done another great job with this this webinar topic, and we've had great questions from the audience. So thank you very much.
Okay, so on behalf of Martin and I, Ask the Building Expert webinar series, we thank you very much for attending, and I hope you attend the next one. Go to our website, sign up, or I forgot to let you know to watch all the other webinars that we've done if you missed it. And we have a whole bunch of topics. Almost every single topic you can think of, we did a webinar for. Roofing, hurricane ties, electrical, plumbing, asphalt reconstruction, contractor licensing, building codes, permits, all that kind of good stuff. If you don't see one, drop us a line and we can consider doing a webinar on that topic. Once again, thank you for attending and hope to see you at the next webinar, and aloha.